Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. So we'll see how far we get today on this walk. Like I say, it's a lot better weather than there was yesterday. But I'm not wearing my wellies, I'm wearing my walking boots, so we'll see how far we can get. But we'll see. Like I say, we'll get to that portion when we come to it. But anyway, good morning, good morning, good morning. To you all. And welcome to the Wednesday walk. Like I say, please do remember to click on the like and share button. Say, we'll get people in, get them up. And Patrick, good morning to you. Cathal OG, good morning to you. Like I say, good morning to everyone else joining us on this very nice, surprisingly sunny day. But we're in for more rain. So, you know, got to enjoy it while you can, I suppose. Oh. Dave W, good morning to you. Zaudi, good morning to you. Joe, you're in trouble. Have I spelt it wrong? No, never mind. I'll deal with it later. I'll deal with it after the stream. Oh. But oh my word. You see, this time last year, it was the Tory leadership contest, the first. Again, I'll express that, the first Tory leadership contest, just to really, you know, emphasise the bizarre year that was. And we just went through time after time after time of Boris Johnson continually, you know, embarrassing himself, embarrassing the Tory party, sending out Tory MPs to defend him on live television, and then saying, or at least then finding out and being confronted by the journalist that no, you're actually lying, making them look like, well, complete and utter fools. And it's not like Trump, you know, he does have support in the non-parliamentary party. We saw that, just as Trump does. You know, he's still got, what, 30% of the Republican Party backing him. So that's still a significant amount. And I'm not sure what support, you know, would support Boris Johnson, but of course, you know, when he tried to make his big comeback, that's what he was hoping for, to go to the vote so that he could win. But of course that didn't happen. Why? Because, well, the Conservative MPs had had enough of him. They just reached the point of just going, no, this cannot continue. But yes, good morning to everyone else. Good morning, people joining us. Good morning. So it's generally one of those points where you're like, our Conservative Party looked to the polls, knew they were going to lose with Boris Johnson's continuing, well, bumbling and complete incompetence. So, good morning. And yet they made the actual smart decision to get rid of him. You know, they made the actual smart decision to get rid of him. But you've got Republicans who are still clinging to this notion that they have to keep Donald Trump. And I think it is just because they are just genuinely terrified of him. I don't think there's any other real reason behind that. I think they're just that scared of him. And I always bring this up. Recently, you had the guy, I think it was from an Ohio Republican. He stood in front of this crowd saying, look, if Donald Trump wins the primary and he goes to be, our presidential candidate, we lose. It's a given. And the polls do support that. That if Donald Trump stands again to the president, he's not going to win. All the polls are saying that. There's no miracle like last time that is certain to happen. No one really wants him back in. And certainly all these indictments now, 4 indictments, yeah, he's not, shall we say, presidential material. And of course, as experts have said, he's going to end up spending more time in a courtroom than on the campaign trail. How is that effective campaigning? Just, what are you doing at that point? Really, is American law even real? Crowban, hello to you. Yeah, 91 criminal charges than any other presidential combined. Yeah, exactly. It's you've got to look at just these, Republicans and just ask them, why on earth are you still supporting this guy? Even at this point, like, why? Why continue when you know you're going to lose? I mean, even when you had all these candidates that were like very clearly going to lose. Oh, morning ponies. And we are drifting through the ponies. Morning. Morning. But yeah, this is the continuing question. And I think someone just put in the chat that, oh yeah, it's just the cult. And it's just like, but this isn't, a cult is not how you not win in politics. That's not how you win. That there has to be someone at some point who reasonably goes, well, look, guys, we want to win. But like I say, just as our own Conservatives in a bad position, and I very much celebrate that. I suppose many on the left will also be certainly celebrating the fact that the Republicans are as well just in a terrible position. I mean, it just goes beyond any reasonable explanation, and I just can't explain it other than that it must generally be scared of him. And you're like, you've got nothing to be scared of, guys. Just say, heck, they could even make up a rule if they wanted to, and just say, yeah, you can't run for president if you've got any open indictments against you. They could do that. They could generally do that and write that into law and just stop him in his tracks. And this is why I'm so looking forward to these debates. I am so looking forward to these debates in America. They're going to be so fun. Oh, once again, Chris Christie, not a very, good guy, but I'll tell you what, his mission to, be the guy that sinks Trump. His mission to be the morning, there would have to be a constitutional amendment. I don't understand why you couldn't make a rule within your party to do so, to be honest. But I like to say, I don't know the American law legal system, so you might be right, it might be a constitutional amendment, but I don't understand why the Republicans just don't go, yeah, we're just going to quickly sneak this in. Because they could do, but there has to come a point where you look and you just go, why are we backing this guy? Why are we still supporting this guy? And January the 6th, I think, should have been the real wake-up moment for any Republicans still on that Trump train to really get off. And to be honest, all these 4 indictments have offered them 4 more stops to get off if they wanted to. But no, they are still obsessed. And every moment of it. But and, you take our Conservatives, they just reached a point where they went, you know what, Boris, enough is enough. And they got rid of him. But I think the big difference is that our Conservatives weren't scared of Johnson in the way that the Republicans are scared of Trump. Because I think that's the only real defining feature in all this. I think that's the only difference between why I was got rid of Johnson and then the Republicans just can't seem to get rid of Trump. It's unbelievable, but there you go. And the Georgia, if you've seen some of the stuff coming out about the Georgia indictment, it's absolutely wild. It is absolutely wild. Well, Chris Christie did join with Trump. He did go into office for them for a moment, and then, of course, like many of the Trump appointees, he was fired for being a bit too incompetent, to be honest, for Trump. But yeah. Yes, we're going to wait here today, I think, for a couple of moments. Braverman started using the Republicans' thoughts and prayers mantra. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, weak as tea. Don't you mean a bit too competent? Well, I don't know. I don't know how competent Chris Christie was. Really, when you compare him to Trump, I mean, he left office, from far as I can understand, as someone who was pretty embroiled in a couple of corruption scandals. He left office a very, very unpopular governor. So I'm not 100% sure he was that good. Trump appeals to the fundamental nastiness in American society that's never really been exercised. Oh yeah, like I say, it's the same for Boris as well. Cavalier, good morning to you. Yeah, 19 co-conspirators. It's all on RICO charges. But like I say, Donald Trump's at the center of it. Oh, Joff, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your super chat there. Thank you very much indeed. Very generous of you, but thank you very much. Dave, we're not too sure, but they'll need to get their skates on this to the primaries. Exactly. I am going to be shocked when you've got, as a lot of experts have been saying, he's going to spend more time on, you know, in the courtroom than he is in the campaign trail. And in these primaries, it's generally going to be quite weird. But how he competes in those primaries. Oh, Trump's going to be his general, you know, boastfulness, as he always is. But I think, you know, you've got the perfect ammunition. You just bring up all these indictments, you bring up all the stuff. And I think he'll end up perjuring himself in those debates. I really think he will. I wouldn't be surprised if he did. If he blurts out on the debate stage like a really important piece of information, that it ends up being really prevalent to one of those court cases. would not surprise me in the least if that happened. That is the type of thing that Trump would do, to be honest. Oh. But yeah, that's like I say, that's what's going on in America at the moment. Wild. And you have a potential presidential candidate that could, be running for the presidency with 4 indictments. And then I think the question has been asked, well, what do you do about a sitting president that's in the courtroom? Can he be taken to court? What happens? Yeah, Trump has the right to remain silent. He just doesn't exercise it. Yeah, very true. That's very true. That's very, very true indeed. But I am expecting him to say something stupid on the debate stage that ends up playing into his one of his criminal cases. It would not surprise me at all in the least if that was the case. Would not surprise me at all. You know, that's because that's the type of personality that he is. That's the whole Trump shtick. You know, he's the guy who is loud, brash, and say what he wants. It's very similar, of course, to Boris, and something that Lee Anderson's trying to, as we said as well, copy as well. Maybe they can just send him. Yeah. Maybe they can just send him to Elba. That's right. He can be the president of Elba. Is Nadine Dorries still MP? Yes, although apparently she's quitting supposedly in September. So that's potential. Mike, morning. So the government is movement this morning occurring about the inflation rate dropping a little, but what have they actually done to promote it dropping? Exactly, nothing. Sunak and Hunt have done nothing to actually do anything about it. So it's what we've been calling him all this time. The do nothing, prime minister. That's what he is. He's just done nothing. He's done really nothing to do anything about any of the problems the UK is facing. And instead, he's focusing on the small boats, which go back to what the Lib Dems have been saying about their doorstepping that they've been doing in these by-elections. And it has been what people care about: NHS, lack of services and options for sort of people in the UK. Tom, good morning to you. Cost of living crisis. People aren't really caring about these small boats. And yet this is what the right in your party is obsessed with. They don't care about anything else. They're just obsessed with that because it means they can talk about that instead of actually, talking about the cost of living crisis. Because, well, if you talk about that, they're sort of responsible for all of it. Well, hopefully it's this September. Like I say, that's the stuff that's been going around, that this September she's going to resign. So we'll see what happens there. Scribbly, it's weird that Trump has been permanently campaigning for 2024 since 2020. Well, yeah. It makes sense if you think about it. Keep yourself in the news, keep yourself relevant. And that was his whole idea for his re-election. I mean, he even created his own office for the past president or something like that he set up to help him campaign for that. But yeah, that's plainly just really weird that he did. But it's somewhat, if Trump had been a more competent candidate, it would have been a very smart strategy, but he's not. So he's squandered any of the potential opportunity. And obviously in the recent election, I think it was for the Senate, I believe it was, all his candidates lost. All his hand-picked candidates that he wanted to win, they all lost. It's not a good sign. Sunak is probably starting himself a job in California, probably so, although he probably doesn't need to. Mithril, yesterday's wage increases were mainly down to the massive payouts in the financial sector. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Didn't surprise me at all if that was the case. Patrick H. Dorries has been the biggest hissy fit in the party conference and quit. Oh, that's what many people are thinking, and that's what I've speculated about before. Is she going to come out and do this, last curtain call and spill the beans? Because there's this new book coming out called The Plot, which is all about the plot to get rid of Boris Johnson. And to be honest, I'm probably going to buy it because it's probably going to be a hoot to read. It's going to be an absolute hoot. Ben, good morning to you. Trump will see the inside of a prison cell. I'm 99% convinced now. Yeah, I'm convinced as well. The fact that he's got 4 of these indictments, all of which have serious, prison time attached to them. Yeah, and especially the Georgia one. I mean, the Georgia one and the one previous, the whole January January the 6th one, when those start and Trump has to start giving evidence for that, and we start hearing witness testimony about what went on there, oh boy. Oh boy, are we going to get even more information about what went on there. And that will probably be at the same time he's meant to be, on the debate stage or, campaigning for president. It's not going to be a good look. Hence why I keep on saying, why on earth have the Republicans just not got rid of him? But it is a continuing mystery. Yeah, the thick plottings. Exactly right, Mythil, the thick plottings. Evelyn, so there's a chance that Doris will actually resign instead of continuing to hang on. Yes, we are getting the rumours, or at least the rumours going round, it's September. Whether she will or not, that waits to be seen, but we'll see. Good bedtime read. Yeah, exactly. Reading all those indictments, reading all the stuff that's about to come out with these court cases. It's going to be fascinating. Like I say, some of the stuff already in this Georgia stuff that's come out is pretty wild. Doris to sign copies of the book outside the Tory Party conference would not surprise me. Kamala Harris, 2024. If Biden was smart, he probably would. He is, to be honest, far, far too old to be running, but there you go. I hope they're sending him away for a long time. I hope so too. The Georgia indictment is the most dangerous. No, yeah, it is. It is the most dangerous because of the phone call. I mean, it's a 3-hour phone call, and it's just... It's just pure insanity from start to finish. Just non-stop from big start to finish. It's unbelievable. Dan doubt he goes to prison. The Secret Service can't protect him that well, like I say, this is obviously possibly the first time it could ever happen in US history. What happens in that regard? I doubt he ends up in maybe a normal US prison. That's also all we can say. Would he go to prison or just be under permanent house arrest though? Somebody in prison might want to make a name for themselves. Well, exactly. This is one of the big things. If Trump does actually go to prison or gets sentenced to go to prison, what do you do? You're right, you can't put him in with the normal sort of prison population. So what do you do to him? Do you build a special prison, especially for Trump? Might be the case. Scribbly, when Doris goes, her daughters lose her job as well. She works in the office, so she might have been waiting for her daughter to get a new job at $42K a year. Reference from her last employer. Oh, that would be really weird if that happened. Yeah, that would be really weird if you got Nadine Dorris's daughter's CV across your table. Georgia ain't on Willie Nelson's mind, it's all on ours. Yeah. Casper Northerner. I think they've put themselves in the position that they can't get rid of Trump. He still has a lot of followers, and a lot of House and Senate support still support him. Well, this is, I think, the case. I think if the Republican Party grew a spine, I think you'd see a lot of the House and Senate support fall away, and you'd only be left with like the the crazies supporting him. And to be honest, that's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. But we'll see. And his supporters, 30% of the Republican Party, that's still a lot. But there's got to come a point where you've just got to call time on someone like this. I mean, our Conservatives did it to Boris. You've got to ask if you're an American, or if you're an American who's a Republican. I generally ask you this question: our Conservatives knew when it was time to call time on Boris Johnson. Why can't your party see that it's the same time? You know, that bell is ringing again, and yet they're not doing anything. Marble, good morning to you. I'd rather see Katie Porter run for president. If she goes to the Senate defense. Trump locked in a cell as president with a nuclear football for company. That's a terrifying thought. That's not a comforting one at all. Yeah, don't they separate? They might. Well, this is it. You don't know what exactly they'll do, but they'll have to separate him, I think, somehow, because there's no way he goes to like a regular conventional prison. Absolutely no way. No way in a month of Sundays does he go to a regular prison. Give him his own island in the Caribbean with no internet as long as he's gone. I'm cool with that. Well, yeah, that's a possibility. Pretty Bird, greetings to you. Trump could have his own Alcatraz. Yeah, he probably could. Mike Higgins, pardon all the inmates to clear out death row and Trump will have a secure unit to himself. I doubt they would do that. Scribbler, with Trump it would be ironic if they turned Mar-a-Lago into a prison and built a wall around it. That would be incredibly ironic. That's true. He doesn't need a lot, they're just the loudest. Maybe you can go hide in the Ecuadorian embassy. That's true. Or maybe you could go hide in the Russian embassy. I'm sure Vladimir Putin would love that. Eddie, they'd bring him back in a heartbeat if it meant winning an election. Oh yeah, very true. Very true. That was the one part of the reason why they ended up deciding to get rid of him. They saw the poll numbers. They knew they couldn't keep him. They knew they would not be able to win with him as leader. One option is to have Trump held at a military base. Again, yeah, you are right. That's a potential option. Epstein's cell is still available. Well, I doubt they'd put him in there. But yeah, it does raise interesting questions about what you would actually do with someone like Trump who ended up going to jail. It raises a ton of questions about what you would have to do, the amount of security. Where do you put him? Do you build his own cell, or it's yeah, general pop? Yeah, you could. Well, that's it. You couldn't put him with the general pop, as someone said. You know, there'd just be a prisoner who would love to make their name. And you know, American prisons are very, very dangerous. If you look at the crime rate just within the prison population, so we'll see. But there's the potential of maybe another country could hold on to him. But it's all potential solutions. But what they'd actually do, I don't know. I generally don't know what you'd have to do. Put him on a barge. Again, that's another possibility. I think Lenworth is a military prison for soldiers. Again, potentially that's another idea. The US National Park Service would be delighted to offer Trump residence in one of the facilities of Alcatraz. Well, It would make an interesting tourist attraction. Come see Alcatraz, one of the most notorious prisons in the world, and look, he is currently prisoner, its only prisoner, Donald Trump. Although bizarrely, he would probably enjoy that. Like I say, he would probably enjoy that. So I don't know if that would be a punishment. Military bases have been used to hold prisoners before. Yeah, again, it is a potential likelihood of what could happen. And we'll just have to see what happens. We will have to see. Yeah, well, he did say be a fool to run because it would shed too much light on his operations. Well, yeah, well, one of the indictments is from New York going after him for his deals, his property deals there that were incredibly shady. So that could unravel a lot. Guantanamo Bay? Possibly. Yeah, the bird brain of Alcatraz. Copy Magneto's cell. Just put him in a plastic ball. That's it. Possibly. Just keep him in the basement somewhere in the Pentagon. Or the real place. You know, at the end of Indiana Jones, where they're just like, oh, where is it being? It's been studied by our top men. And it's just being wheeled away into a big warehouse. I always said that would make a good TV series, and I think Warehouse 31 was the closest they ever came to it when it came down to it. But yeah, that was a bizarre, weird, and fun TV series. But yeah. But you can see just how many questions, obviously, this is raising. And then, of course, you've got the big example, which a lot of people, I think, were worried about back in the day. Could Trump pardon himself? If you remember that back in the day, there was that big question of, is Trump allowed to pardon himself if he wins? That's a potential one. You've obviously got, certainly the Democrats will try and maybe impeach him again. But then again, I doubt Republicans yet put Trump in permanent house arrest. Again, it's an option. It's a possibility. But it raises so many questions. And then what do you do, of course, if, let's say, the Georgia one goes to, I think they're trying to push, I can't remember if it's the Georgia one, it's the January the 6th one they're trying to push through so that it happens very, very quickly. You know, what do you do if you've then got technically Donald Trump sitting in a prison cell when he's meant to be running for president? It opens, the mind boggles to like the potential probabilities of what could happen in all this. And I think it does raise a lot of questions about the voting system in America, how it all works. I mean, we'll see what happens at the end of all this, but we'll see. We'll see. Simon M., good morning to you. Dan, he probably can't pardon himself on the federal crimes, but it's never been tested. Exactly, that's the big problem. It's never been tested, but he definitely can't pardon himself for Georgia. Oh yeah, I think the governor's got to do that, hasn't he? It's a state crime. Oh yeah, yeah, because everyone always says that, you know, if you were involved in property, or at least property development in the 80s, you know, you had to do business with the mob. And all of people have said that there's probably a lot of skeletons in Trump's closet if people would start looking into that. which wouldn't surprise me at all. And then you've got his children to worry about, but whether one of them would decide to run in his place, or maybe one of them will decide to run later, who knows? Who knows? In Georgia, you can only be pardoned 5 years after you've served your sentence. So, so at least he's got 5 years to wait then. He's got 5 years to wait. But things are about to get, I think, very, very interesting. Things are going to get very interesting, I think, because I think you've got a potential. Certainly, a lot the other, national security people are worried about is, what if Trump supporters try something? And I wouldn't be surprised. It would not surprise me in the least if Trump supporters generally tried to start something. And of course, that is a worry, but we'll see what happens. It's one of those bizarre cases where you look at it and you go, wow, that's... How on earth has this been allowed to happen? How have they not, as we said, called time on it? The problem is that Trump has the support of the majority of the Republican base. I think it sounded like the Tory party members voted for Truss. Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. I mean, you had, I keep on bringing it up, but there was the video of the Republican who was like, we've got to leave Trump behind. We've got to abandon him, because if we pick him, we're instantly losing. And he gets booed for it. He's generally telling the truth about what's going to happen if they pick Trump for the nomination, and he's getting booed for it. And you are right. I think there's just a section of the base, like there was a section of the base for both Truss. Well, actually, no. To be honest, Truss was a bit different. There's a section of the base certainly for Johnson, because he always had that, that popular support that believed the myth that Boris Johnson was actually this really good politician when he really wasn't. Certainly his premiership proved that. And then Truss went to the Conservative base and said everything they wanted to hear. And the key thing with Truss was, it was all this crazy free market fundamentalist nonsense dressed up in a very right-wing populist movement, which the Conservative base just lapped up. And then when they put her in, as we keep on saying, she crashed the economy, almost destroyed the UK pensions industry. And because of how deeply invested the UK pensions industry is in businesses across the UK, that would have had massive ripple effects on the economy. If you think things are bad now, things could have been much, much worse if the Bank of England hadn't stepped in. Things are bad now, but they're a walk in the park to what things could have been if the pension industry had been wiped out by Liz Truss. It doesn't bear thinking about. Really isn't bear thinking about. Yeah, keep her away from the port markets. Yeah, there is that. Well, that's always the thing that's been so bizarre. The fact that Trump has had that right-wing evangelical support. But I think that's just a case of Trump will just come out and say everything, because he came out and said, yeah, I'm in support of, gay rights and so forth. And then he went completely back on it. And yet the religious right in America still heavily voted for him. But I also think it has a lot to do, especially Trump's election had a lot to do with the fact that there was that empty court seat at the time for the Supreme Court. And I think that a lot of Republicans saw the opportunity and for a chance that they might get 2 picks, but they had the wildest dreams come true and they got 3 picks. And because they got that, the Republicans now have a majority on the Supreme Court for who knows how long. But we'll see. I think that had a lot to play in Trump's election. I think that's what Republicans looked at, the bigger picture in electing Trump. They looked at that opportunity for the Supreme Court nomination and they took it. And of course, this is what we talk about when we talk about here about the opportunity to have the Conservative Party completely wiped out. When you're looking at the recent polls giving them 90 seats. 90 seats. At that point, they're not an effective opposition. And as we've talked about before, massive opportunity for a really big progressive bloc. So it is important. And just like they had the guy in Uxbridge who lost, unfortunately, in the by-election, he was a massive supporter of PR. So we've got to get people like him in. Morning. So it's real time to think strategically in this case, and especially if they pardon me, especially if they suddenly start saying we're going to have a referendum on the European Court of Human Rights, because oh my word, you do not want to risk that. You do not want to risk the absolute nightmarish disaster that could unleash. We've talked about it before. 2 of the big ones. First of all, Brexit withdrawal agreement. Boom. Good Friday Agreement. Gone. One of the most successful peace agreements in the world. Gone. And that's what is at stake if they leave that. And if they really do put that on, then it's suck it up, buttercup. Vote tactically, vote Labour, vote Lib Dem, get on with it, and get it done. Because we said for the Uxbridge by-election, if the Greens constantly talked about how, oh yes, we want progressive voting, we want to play a part in the tactical voting of of the UK, help the Tories get out. Why on earth did they run a candidate in Uxbridge? They knew they weren't going to win. They knew full well they weren't going to win. And yet if they had gone and voted for Labour, we would have had an MP who is pro-PR in Labour. And I'll keep on saying it, it's a big progressive tragedy. And not just the Greens there as well, but the Lib Dems too. So it is very, very much so what we have to really think about in the next general election, like it or not. Hang on, so I haven't been reading messages, so I do apologise. Scary to think about it. Yeah, no more Good Friday Agreement. That would be awful. It would be an absolute disaster. This is why these people who talk about this, who openly talk about the getting rid of this and having a referendum on this, they never mention those two things, because they know that this would make people go, oh, hold on a second. Actually, this isn't a good idea. And it's well worth reminding people that we do not want to fight that. We do not even want to risk rolling the dice at a referendum like that. I guess, if this referendum would be like rolling a d6 and a 1 is a loss, anything else is a win, there's still an option you could roll a 1 on that referendum. You do not, under any circumstances, want to fight that referendum at all. And I mean at all. The potential disaster would be, it's just unthinkable. It really is. Really, really is. But if that does appear on the Tory manifesto, then at that point it's like, right guys, come on. You need to vote tactically on this, guys. You need to vote Labour, you need to vote Lib Dem. Come on, guys, come on. Get them in. Yeah. I find it quite interesting that, yeah, it's bizarre. Yeah, joining Belarus and Russia as pariah states. Yeah, it would be, and like I say, we would gain that status with the Brexit withdrawal agreement gone and the Good Friday Agreement gone. And the real point here, the whole reason why they are so annoyed about this, is because of judges telling them, hey, you made this rule, we're only enforcing the rules you made, and that's it. But anyway, as always, thank you very much for joining me this morning on this Wednesday walk. It's been an absolutely cracking day this morning. I don't know if it's going to last, but hopefully so. But yes, thank you very much for joining us. And of course, as always, we'll see you all on Saturday for another Good Morning Walk. But we'll see you all very, very soon.